It's fun looking back. But we also need to look ahead. Where are we going in 2025? There's a passage in Proverbs 29 that says, where there is no vision, people cast off restraint. This is true for a church. It's also true for a family. Where do you believe that you want to take your family spiritually? In faith, in the things of God in 2025. Where do you want to take your family relationally? How are we going to be more connected as a family this year? Well, without a declared vision, you can have something in your head, but if you don't declare, you don't say, hey, this is where I believe we ought to go. You guys think about this with us, pray about it with us as a family. You cast off restraint. What does that mean? You're just kind of willy-nilly along, just no boundaries, just kind of here, just kind of there, just kind of wherever. And maybe start with your own life personally. Say, where do I want to be? Where does God want me to be at the end of this year? I don't want to just wander and go, hey, I've had another year. Yeah, church was good. That was funny. Pastor told some stupid jokes. And yeah. Or, no, this is the difference I want to be. We cast off restraint. There's a wonderful example of a guy in the Bible named Nehemiah. And he prayed this prayer, Lord, use me. Now, Nehemiah was not one of these, VPs of Starbucks or anything else. In fact, he was kind of at the bottom of the bottom. Here's what his job was. He was the cupbearer for the king of Persia. The guy's name was Artaxerxes, but he's the cupbearer for the king of Persia. You know what the cupbearer did? Well, he bared cups. No, you know what? He tasted the wine before it was served to the king. Why did he taste the wine? Yeah, you guys get it. Hey, and the king's drink it first, Nehemiah. Oh, okay, it's safe. Oh, okay, great. Not your, hey, I'll sign up for that job. Boy, they got openings. No kidding. In fact, Nehemiah, the reason that he was on this job because he was born in captivity. He was a Jew by birth, born in captivity, raised as a servant, a slave, if you will. And not only that, he was a eunuch. If you don't know what that is, Google it when you get home. But so this guy was not at the top of his game. He's down here, man, this is my job. Every day putting my life on the line because it was a big deal in those days, right? And so here he is, and trusted, yeah. Some people say, wait a minute, he had close proximity to the king. Well, yes, he did have close proximity to the king. But at the same time, he was no Daniel. Anybody remember Daniel in Lion's Den? Daniel was in Babylon. He was also in exile, a slave. But as a slave, Daniel, he was incredible. He rose to the position of second in command of the entire nation of Babylon. Incredible. So you got Daniel, who's chief of staff, and you got Nehemiah, who's chef of staff. It's only one letter difference, but it is a world apart. Can you imagine the chief of staff of the President of the United States and the chef of staff of the President of the United States? When they go to work every day, they both have proximity to the president every day, say, hey, they ask one question. Mr. President, what would you like from me today? Mr. President, what can I do for you today? Mr. President, both of them ask the exact same question. What do you want from me? What can I do for you? Can you imagine them coming in and going, Mr. President, here's what I need. I need this, I need this, I need this. And the chief of staff going, my calendar is really full trying to keep you straight. Could you kind of address some of this stuff yourself? Right? This has really helped me out if you just kind of take care of this stuff. And the chef going, hey, Mr. President, since we're so close, we got close, the cutlery's all dull and the food's coming in a little bit, not so great. Can you take care of that, Mr. President? No. Here's what's amazing. You may be at the bottom. You feel like I've reached my lid, or I'm just starting out, and I'm way down here on the pole. Or you may be at the top of your game. The King of Kings, the King of the universe, allows both to have access. You have access to the King of the universe. And so much of the time, in our first 14 minutes, and I'm going to help you try to change this year. I want you to take the first 14 minutes of your day and change your destiny and spend it with God and just say, I'm going to set my alarm clock 15 minutes earlier and just 14 minutes earlier and just open my Bible and read it a little bit with God and watch what happens. But here's what I find when we're early on in this thing. our time with God is, God, can you fix this? God, can you take care of this? God, how about this? God, I need this. God, will you do this? And I want to see that shift this year, that God pours into you. You know him so well that your first thing out of your mouth is, Lord, what can I do for you today? God, how can I serve you? God, I got a whole bunch of things that I want fixed. There's a lot of places that are dark in my world, a lot of things that aren't going well, so I need you to do this, 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 and this. But before I ever get to that, God, what can I do for you? Lord, use me. Let me tell you how God typically answers that prayer. Lord, use me. And we find in the story of Nehemiah, number one, he shows us a problem that you have. In Nehemiah chapter 1, Nehemiah gets word from his brother who came back from Jerusalem and tells him, hey, what's going on back home? You know, what's happening there? And his brother responds, he says, and they told me, the remnant who survived the exile, and they're in the province of Israel, they're in great trouble and in disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are burned with fire. It's ruined. The enemy is able to come and go as they please. It's a mess there, Nehemiah. If you look at the pictures of L.A., when the enemy came in through Jerusalem, they just destroyed everything. It's not all that unsimilar, and burned everything. Look at verse 4. When Nehemiah heard these words, I sat down and I wept. I mourned for days, fasting and praying before the God of heaven. Nehemiah has a problem. My home country's in ruins, and it's grieving him. It's breaking him. Let me ask you, what causes you grief? What keeps you up at night? What's a problem in your life that you can't seem to overcome? And you think about it and your blood boils and you get, oh, that's wrong. That shouldn't happen. What is it that you've been praying and praying and praying and saying, God, would you fix this? God, take care of this. God, please, I've prayed over and over and over, and there's been no answer. Maybe you've been fasting and praying, God, fix. Let me remind you of something. Many of the problems that you have in your life, God allows on purpose, on His purpose. He allows you to encounter them because God is waiting for you and I to eventually say, God, would you fix this, to change to, Lord, use me to fix this. Lord, this is what's gripping my heart, so Lord, use me. What can I do to be an answer to this problem? I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and you're not doing it. I've done all that I know to do, so God, use me. We always think there's somebody else who can solve the problem. When Sandy and I moved here to start the church and we saw the need, no one else was going to do it. Lord, use me. As you pray that prayer, you begin to get a passion. Number 2 in your notes, a passion for courage. Something begins to well up inside you that's not just this thing of, oh, that bugs me, to something that says, hey, maybe I can. This is a rhetorical question, but anybody here want to be a wimp? No, we don't be wimps. Most of us don't. Think about those fires and think about the people who were really heroic. And, you know, we get those stories. I don't know how many people were not heroic. Heard about this 83-year-old man. His son-in-law's named Aaron Sampson, and 83 years old, and their car burns, the house is on fire, they've got to get out of there. The 83-year-old, though, is walker-bound, very slow, and now they have no car, nothing to get out of there, and so they're marching down the street. Dad says to his son-in-law, Aaron, if it gets so bad, just leave me behind. You save yourself. right? And I'm like, wow. But you know what Aaron does? You can look it up. No, I'm not leaving my dad. And he walks with him through those flames and make it through. That was courage. Rose up within him. God will give you passion for courage. Nehemiah is praying, God, don't let me wimp out. When the flames are high, Lord, use me. Give me a passion. Nehemiah had a real chance to wimp out. Nehemiah had a chance to turn his back on the whole thing. You know, I can see him say, you know, I got a job, not a great job, but I got a job. You know, I got to pay the bills. I got to take care of some things. I was going to say feed my family, but he was a eunuch, so I got to take care of things. You know, it's not a great life, but it's my life here, and this is where I live now. And you know what? Oh, good grief! From Persia to Jerusalem, it's like over 1,000 miles on the back of a camel. No, I don't know. Alaska doesn't even fly there. This is terrible. And my boss is never going to give me the time off. I can't take that much time off. There's just no way. I can't do anything about it. Right? Look at Nehemiah's response. Now, in the month of Nisan, the 20th year of the king Artaxerxes, when the wine was set before him, he comes in, all right, do your thing, tasted it, it's good. Took the wine, gave it to the king. I'd never been sad in his presence. Do you believe that in all the years that he'd done that job, he'd never been sad? No. Well, life is up and down, we know that. But he knew better than to be sad in his presence. People have lost their life in the presence of the king for, less things. I don't like the way your hair's combed off with your head. I'm the king. I don't like the way you looked at my kids. Off with your head. I'm the king. I just don't like you today. Off with your head. I'm the king. Right? So, his life was not, and he's like the bottom of the bottom, but he comes in, and the king says to me, dude, you know what you're supposed to be like in my presence? Why the face? You're not sick. This could only be sadness of the heart. He recognizes that grief in Nehemiah was carrying with him, this thing. And look at the next line. I was overwhelmed with fear. Why? Next words out of the king's mouth could be, off with your head. Something inside of him said, no. Lord, use me. Lord, let me be. Lord, help me. And he replies to the king, gave him courage. God gave him courage to speak. And he replied to the king, may the king live forever. Why should I not be sad? I got a burden in my heart. My homeland is in ruins. It is in flames. Its gates have been destroyed by fire. Go to the next slide. Next one, please. Look what the king does. All right, what do you need? Everybody wants something from the king. What do you need? Nehemiah's next line. So I prayed to the God of heaven. Now, he didn't stop and have a prayer meeting, prayer visit, call the church, right? Get on the prayer chain, get everybody praying. This was a quick prayer. Lord, help. God, use me. God, here's my chance. God, use me. Why do some quick prayers work and other quick prayers don't? Why do sometimes we pray this quick prayer to God and whoa, and other times, I don't even know why I do that. It's like knocking on wood, rubbing the rabbit's foot. I don't know. Oh, Lord, I'll pray. It's like asking something from someone that you know and asking something from someone you don't know. If any of you have ever entered the insurance business, most companies will put out, hey, we've got a great job for you. You can make billions of dollars, so you make the call. All right, hey, this is Joe from Schmuckatelli Insurance, and here's what we're going to do. We'll start you out, right? First month, we're going to give you a little stipend, but you'll be making, money in no time. Oh, okay, great. And they say you're all excited in your room with like 60 people, and you're all getting the job, and this is going to be great. All right, here's the first thing you do. Call all your family, your friends, your mom, your brothers, your sister, everybody that you know, and talking about your insurance, and so, hey, I got this new job, and this insurance is going to be great, and the whole thing. And you sell a bunch of policies. And then, whoa, this is great, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden you run out of fingers. And now you got to do what? They call it cold calling. And all of a sudden you get rejected after rejected after rejected, and all of a sudden it's the difference. You're selling to somebody you know. Hopefully there's a trust level in that relationship, as opposed to people who go, God help, because I know God. We're close. We're actually friends. He calls me his friend. 2, I don't know what else to do. God help. Who was that just, I'm being facetious with being anthropomorphic with God, but you understand the principle. Nehemiah had already spent time in prayer getting to know God. We saw that in the very first chapter. When he was grieved, he spent days mourning, fasting, and praying. You see it there on the screen. I mourned for days, fasting and prayer. And when he was praying, it wasn't, God help, Lord use me.